I want to share with you the most profound secret of manifestation, a secret so powerful that once understood will revolutionize your entire approach to life. Many of you come to me asking why your manifestations are delayed, why your desires seem to take so long to materialize in your world. Tonight, I shall reveal to you why, and more importantly, how to manifest your desires with lightning speed. Let me begin by sharing a principle that most of the world has completely misunderstood. In the book of John, it is written, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Now, what is this Word? This Word, my dear wonderful friends, is not something spoken by your physical lips. The Word is your inner conversation, your mental dialogue that runs ceaselessly through your mind day and night. You see, most people are manifesting slowly or not at all because they fail to grasp this fundamental truth. Your inner conversation is the cause of everything in your world, everything. Not some things, not most things, but all things. When you truly understand this, you will begin to manifest with such rapidity that others will call it miraculous. Let me share with you a story that came to me just last week. A lady approached me after one of my lectures, her eyes filled with tears. She had been trying to manifest a reunion with her estranged son for 3 years. She had tried everything: affirmations, visualization, even traveling across the country to see him, but he refused to meet her. After attending my lectures and understanding this principle of inner conversation, she realized that her constant inner dialogue was, "Why won't my son talk to me? What did I do wrong? Will he ever forgive me?" Do you see what she was doing? She was perpetuating the very state of separation through her inner conversation. I instructed her to change her inner dialogue to how wonderful it is to talk to my son every day. How lovely it is to hear his voice filled with love for me. Within 1 week, yes, just 1 week, her son called her. Not only did he call, but he apologized for his behavior and expressed his desire to rebuild their relationship. This, my dear friends, is the secret that accelerates manifestation. Your inner conversation must match the state you wish to occupy. There must be no contradiction between what you desire and what you internally hear yourself saying about that desire. Now let me take it deeper into this mystery. In the book of Matthew, it is written, "For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." Your treasure is not your desire. Your treasure is your inner conversation about your desire. If you claim to want financial abundance, but your inner dialogue is constantly repeating, "I never have enough money, everything is so expensive, I can't afford this," then that conversation is your real treasure. And that is exactly what you will manifest. The speed of manifestation is directly proportional to the consistency of your inner conversation. When you maintain an inner dialogue that aligns perfectly with your desire, without contradiction, without doubt, without wavering, manifestation must follow as naturally as day follows night. Some of you might be thinking, "But Wayne, I try to maintain positive thoughts, yet my inner conversation seems to have a mind of its own." Here is where most seekers stumble. They try to force their inner conversation to control it through willpower. This is not the way. The secret lies in understanding that your inner conversation is not something to be forced, but something to be assumed. When you truly assume a state, the inner conversation appropriate to that state flows naturally. If you are wealthy, truly wealthy in consciousness, you don't need to force yourself to think wealthy thoughts. The inner dialogue of wealth flows spontaneously because it is natural to the state you have assumed. Let me make this practical for you. Tonight, when you go to sleep, I want you to do something revolutionary. Instead of trying to visualize your desire or repeating affirmations, I want you to simply listen to your inner conversation. Don't try to change it yet. Just listen, become aware of what you are internally saying about yourself, your light desires, your relationships, your finances. This awareness is crucial because what you will discover is that your current inner conversation is a perfect match for your current life circumstances. Every detail of your life right now is a manifestation of your habitual inner dialogue. This is why some people can visualize for hours. Affirm until they're blue in the face, yet see no results. Their inner conversation is contradicting everything they're trying to manifest. The secret to rapid manifestation lies in this understanding. Change the inner conversation and you change the outer world, and this is crucial. You must change it naturally by assuming the state of your wish fulfilled. When you assume the state, the appropriate inner dialogue flows without effort. Here's a profound truth that few understand. Your inner conversation is not just about the specific words you say to yourself. It's about the feeling tone behind those words. When you assume the state, the feeling of that state gives birth to natural, effortless inner talking that matches the state. Consider a woman who wants to be married. She might repeat affirmations like, "I am happily married 1,000 times." But if her inner conversation throughout the day is filled with loneliness, questioning when love will come, or expressing doubt about finding the right person, those are the conditions she's actually manifesting. But when she assumes the state of the happily married woman, her inner conversation naturally includes remarks like, "My husband always does the sweetest things. I love cooking our favorite meals together." These conversations flow effortlessly because they are natural to the state she has assumed. This brings me to another crucial point about rapid manifestation. In the book of Revelation, it is written, "I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end." This is not speaking of some external deity. This is speaking of your consciousness, your I am. Your inner conversation is how you use this creative power of I am. Every time you engage in inner dialogue, you are defining who I am is. When you say internally, "I am struggling, I am trying to manifest, I am waiting for my desire," you are creating those very conditions. The secret to rapid manifestation is to engage in the inner conversation of the state fulfilled, not the state desired. Let me give you a warning here. Many of you will be tempted to monitor your inner conversation constantly, trying to catch every negative thought. This is not what I'm advocating. Such an approach creates tension and resistance, which only slows down manifestation. Instead, simply assume the state of your wish fulfilled and let the natural inner conversation of that state flow. Now, let me share with you something even more profound about this secret. In the book of Job, it is written, "For what I feared has come upon me. What I dreaded has happened to me." This is not just ancient wisdom. This is a precise description of how your inner conversation creates your reality. Your fears, your worries, the things you dread, these are not merely passive thoughts. They are powerful inner conversations that manifest with the same certainty as your desire. This is why I tell you that no one worry you. When others speak of recession, of difficult times, of impossibilities, you must understand that their conversations have no power in your world unless you accept them into your inner dialogue. The only creative power is your own inner conversation. I recall a gentleman who attended my lectures in New York. He was a businessman who had heard countless experts predicting a downturn in his industry. Everyone was preparing for failure, cutting costs, laying off workers. But this gentleman understood the secret of inner conversation. While others spoke of decline, his inner dialogue remained steadfast. "My business is thriving. My customers are abundant, but opportunities are flowing to me from every direction." His colleagues called him delusional, unrealistic. Yet within 3 months, while other businesses struggled, his company experienced its most profitable quarter ever. Was this a coincidence? No, my dear friends. It was the law in operation. His inner conversation created a state of consciousness that had to objectify itself in his world. Here is another secret that will accelerate your manifestations. Your inner conversation must not only match your desire, it must transcend time. Notice how most people's inner dialogue is always about the future. I will be successful. I will find love. Things will get better. This very conversation pushes their desires perpetually into the future. The secret is to have an inner conversation that speaks from the in, as though your desire is already fulfilled. In the book of Isaiah, it states, "Before they call, I will answer." This is not about some external God answering prayers. This is about the law of consciousness. Your inner conversation of the wish fulfilled is the answer, and it precedes the physical manifestation. Let me be very specific about this. If you desire financial abundance, your inner conversation should not be, "Money is coming to me," or "I am attracting wealth." These conversations, though seemingly positive, still speak from a place of lack. Instead, your inner dialogue should be that of a wealthy person. "I love how easily money flows in my life. It's wonderful having more than enough to share. I enjoy choosing the best of everything." Some of you might argue, "But Wayne, isn't this denying reality? Isn't this lying to ourselves?" Let me address this once and for all. What you call reality is simply the outer picturing of past inner conversations. Your current circumstances, which seem so solid and real, are nothing more than yesterday's inner talking made visible. In the book of Hebrews, it is written, "Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God. So the things which are seen were not made of things which do appear." Replace word of God with inner conversation, and you have the exact law I'm revealing to you tonight. The things which are seen, your current circumstances, were created by the invisible power of your inner dialogue. Let me share another experience that demonstrates this principle perfectly. A young teacher came to me in despair. She had been assigned the most challenging class in her school, students known for being disruptive and unmanageable. Her inner conversation was filled with dread. "These students won't listen. She will be a nightmare. I can't handle this class." I explained to her the secret of inner conversation. She began to change her internal dialogue too. "My students are engaged and eager to learn. I love how respectful and cooperative my class is. Teaching this class brings me joy every day." She maintained this new inner conversation faithfully, even when external circumstances seemed to contradict it. Within 2 weeks, she noticed subtle changes. Students who had never participated began raising their hands. Disruptions became less frequent. By the end of the month, her class had transformed so dramatically that other teachers came to observe what they called her teaching magic. But it wasn't magic. It was the law of inner conversation in action. Now, here's another crucial aspect of this secret that few understand. Your inner conversation is not limited to your own life circumstances. When you engage in inner dialogue about others, you are influencing how they appear in your world. This is why the Bible instructs us to love our enemies and bless those who curse us. These are not moral instructions. They are practical metaphysical law. If someone in your world appears hostile or unpleasant, check your inner conversation about them. Are you internally rehearsing their faults? Are you mentally arguing with them? Are you replaying negative interactions? This inner dialogue is creating and sustaining their behavior in your experience. Change your inner conversation about them, and you change their behavior toward you. This is not manipulation. This is the correct use of the law. Someone in your world is yourself pushed out. Their behavior toward you is simply the manifestation of your inner conversation about them. I had a lady write to me about a difficult mother-in-law. For years, their relationship had been strained, filled with criticism and tension. Every time she thought about her mother-in-law, her inner dialogue was, "She's always judging me. She doesn't accept me. She makes my life miserable." I instructed her to change this inner conversation too. "My mother-in-law is so loving and supportive. We enjoy such wonderful times together." She practiced this faithfully, even though her external circumstances showed no immediate change. But within a month, her mother-in-law's attitude began to shift. Small gestures of kindness appeared. Criticism turned to compliments. Today, they share a loving relationship that amazes the entire family. This transformation wasn't about changing her mother-in-law. It was about changing her inner conversation about her mother-in-law. Now, let me reveal to you an even deeper aspect of this secret that will accelerate your manifestations beyond anything you've previously experienced. In the book of Ecclesiastes, it is written, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven." Many interpret this literally, thinking they must wait for the right time for their manifestations. But I tell you truly, time is a creation of your inner conversation. When your inner dialogue constantly speaks of waiting, of process, of gradual improvement, you create time between you and your desire. This is why so many remain stuck in the state of becoming rather than being. Their inner conversation is always about the journey, never the arrival. They say, "I'm getting better. I'm working towards my goal. I'm making progress." While these seem positive, they are actually creating perpetual delay. Let me share with you a profound truth. In imagination, where all creation takes place, there is no time. This is why the Bible speaks of God as the eternal I am, not the I will be. Your inner conversation must reflect this timeless nature of consciousness. Instead of saying internally, "My business is growing," say, "I am perfectly healthy now." A gentleman once approached me after experiencing years of financial struggle. His inner conversation was filled with statements like, "Things are getting better. I'm moving towards prosperity. My debts are gradually decreasing." I explained to him that this very conversation was creating the experience of gradual change, of endless becoming. He shifted his inner dialogue to speak from the end. "I love having more than enough." The results were immediate and startling. Within days, unexpected opportunities appeared. A long-forgotten investment suddenly paid off. A new business partnership emerged that transformed his financial situation completely. What others called coincidence, we know as law. Here's another crucial aspect of this secret. Your inner conversation must be anchored in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Many attempt to change their inner dialogue mechanically, repeating new statements without the corresponding feeling tone. This is why their manifestations are slow and non-existent. In the book of Psalms, it says, "Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart." This delight is the feeling tone that must accompany your inner conversation. When your internal dialogue naturally flows from the joy of having your desire fulfilled, manifestation is instantaneous. Consider a woman who desires marriage. Her inner conversation might be technically positive. "I am married to a wonderful man." But if these words lack the feeling of being happily married, they remain hollow and powerless. When she assumes the feeling of being a beloved wife, her inner dialogue naturally flows with statements like, "I love cooking dinner with my husband." "Our evening walks together are so precious." "I'm so blessed to share my life with my soulmate." These words carry the feeling tone of the wish fulfilled. Let me share something even more profound about this secret. Your inner conversation extends beyond your waking hours. The thoughts and dialogues that occupy your mind as you fall asleep are particularly powerful. This is why the Psalms instruct us to commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. Most people fall asleep rehearsing the problems of their day or worrying about tomorrow. Their inner conversation during these crucial moments is creating more of what they don't want. Instead, as you fall asleep, let your inner dialogue be from the state of your wish fulfilled. Let it be natural, easy, reflecting the joy of already having what you desire. I recall a man who had been seeking a specific position in his company for years. Every night he would fall asleep thinking about how to get the promotion, what he needed to do, who he needed to impress. His inner conversation was always about seeking, never about having. I instructed him to change his preparatory sleep conversation. Instead of planning and strategizing, he was to fall asleep each night with the inner dialogue of already being in that position. His new inner conversation included casual remarks like, "It's wonderful having this responsibility. I love leading this department. My team is exceptional." Within 2 weeks, not only was he promoted to the position he desired, but he was given even more responsibility and compensation than he had imagined possible. Now, let me address something that many of you struggle with, the appearance of failure or delay in your manifestations. When things seem to be going wrong, when circumstances appear to contradict your desire, your inner conversation becomes crucial. Most people allow the internal dialogue to be dictated by circumstances. This is the exact opposite of how the law works. In the book of Romans, it is written, "Call those things which be not as though they were." This is not positive thinking. This is the revelation of how consciousness creates reality. Your inner conversation must call forth the reality you desire, regardless of appearances. Lady who was manifesting perfect health while dealing with a chronic condition, instead of allowing her inner dialogue to focus on symptoms or medical reports, she maintained a conversation of perfect health. My body is strong and vital. Every cell in my body is functioning perfectly. I am the picture of health. Her doctors were amazed when her condition completely reversed, defying their prognosis. This brings me to another vital aspect of rapid manifestation. Your inner conversation must be protected from the doubts and negativity of others. When others speak of impossibilities, when they point to reality or facts, you must maintain your inner conversation is so vital. In the book of Proverbs, it states, "Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." Your heart, your consciousness, is your inner conversation. When you allow external voices to influence your internal dialogue, you give away your creative power. I remember a remarkable case of a young artist who came to me in despair. Gallery owners had rejected her work, critics had dismissed her talent, and her family insisted she find a real job. But she understood this secret. Instead of allowing their voices to become her inner conversation, she maintained an internal dialogue of success. My art touches people deeply. Collectors value my work. My exhibitions are always successful. She told me later that maintaining this inner conversation felt like standing firm in a storm of contrary opinions. But she persisted. Within months, a prestigious gallery owner discovered her work. Today, her paintings command significant prices, and critics who once dismissed her now praise her unique vision. What changed? Not her talent. That was always there. What changed was her inner conversation. Here's another crucial aspect of this secret that few understand. Your inner conversation must be faithful to your assumption. If you assume the state of wealth, but your internal dialogue still speaks of budgeting, saving, and financial caution, you are being unfaithful to your assumption. This divided inner conversation creates delayed and mixed manifestations. In the book of James, it says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. This double-mindedness is not about having doubts. It's about maintaining contradictory inner conversations. You cannot speak internally as both the wealthy and the wanting, the healthy and the sick, the loved and the lonely. You must choose your state and let your inner conversation be faithful to it completely. Consider this profound truth. Every moment of your day is an opportunity to align your inner conversation with your desired state. When you shop, does your internal dialogue speak of prices and affordability, or does it naturally discuss preferences and choices? When you dine out, does your inner conversation concern itself with the cost of the menu, or does it focus on the pleasure of the experience? These seemingly small moments of inner dialogue are actually crucial turning points in your manifestation. Every internal word either aligns with your desire or contradicts it. There is no neutral inner conversation. Let me share one final secret about rapid manifestation that will transform your understanding completely. Your inner conversation is not just about words. It's about the consciousness from which those words spring. When you truly assume a state, the inner conversation appropriate to that state flows naturally, without effort or practice. This is why attempting to monitor and control every thought is unnecessary and counterproductive. Instead, occupy the state of your wish fulfilled, and the right inner conversation will flow spontaneously. This is what the Bible means when it says, "Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus." It's speaking of assuming the state of your wish fulfilled, from which all appropriate thoughts and internal dialogues naturally flow. I knew a man who struggled with relationships. He tried to change his inner conversation about love and partnership, but it felt forced and unnatural. Then he understood this principle. Instead of trying to change his thoughts, he assumed the state of being happily married. From this state, his inner conversation naturally shifted. He no longer had to remind himself to think positive thoughts about relationships. The internal dialogue of a happily married man flowed effortlessly from his assumed state. Within months, he met and married a wonderful woman. But here's the crucial point. The meeting and marriage weren't the miracle. The natural shift in his inner conversation was the miracle. The external circumstances simply conformed to his new state of consciousness. Now, as we conclude tonight's discussion, I want to impress upon you this final truth. Internal dialogue is defining your self-concept, and your self-concept determines what you manifest in your world. When you understand this, truly understand it, you will never again worry about circumstances, conditions, or the opinions of others. You will know that your inner conversation is the only creative power, and you will use it wisely and deliberately. Tonight, as you leave here, I urge you to begin this practice immediately. Don't wait for a perfect moment. Don't prepare yourself. Simply begin now to listen to your inner conversation, and then naturally let it flow from the state of your wish fulfilled. Let your internal dialogue be that of the person who already has what you desire. Remember, secret I've shared with you tonight is not new. It's as old as consciousness itself, but its power is as fresh and available now as it has ever been. Your inner conversation is creating your reality at this very moment. Use it wisely, use it lovingly, use it deliberately. For in the end, there is no one to change but self, and self is changed by the transformation of your inner conversation. The world around you, which appears so solid and real, is nothing more than your inner conversation made visible. Change the conversation and you change everything. And now, knowing this secret, go forth and prove it in the laboratory of your own life, for as it is written, according to your faith be it unto you. Your faith is your inner conversation, and it will not fail you. That is the law, and that is the promise.
Let me share with you what actually happens in consciousness during a 72-hour period following a true change in your assumption. The first 24 hours are crucial, as this is when your new assumption begins to take root in your subconscious mind. The second 24 hours strengthen this new pattern, and by the third day, a complete transformation of consciousness has occurred. Many of you wonder why your manifestations seem to take so long, why your reality doesn't immediately reflect your desires. But I tell you this, there is a specific period of gestation for every seed planted in consciousness, just as there is for every seed planted in the earth. 72 hours represents a complete cycle of transformation in consciousness. Consider this: in Scripture, we read of the 3 days Christ spent in the tomb before his resurrection. This is not merely a historical account, but a profound psychological truth. Every transformation in consciousness requires the 3 days. It's 72 hours before externalization begins. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire approach to manifestation. You stop wondering when your desire will manifest and start understanding the precise law that governs all manifestation. You recognize that time is not an enemy, but a necessary component of psychological gestation. Let me tell you something vital about these 72 hours. They begin the moment you completely accept your desire as an accomplished fact, not when you start wishing for it, not when you start affirming it, but when you actually accept it as done in your consciousness. Here's a profound truth about this 72-hour period. It operates whether you believe in it or not. Just as a seed will take a specific time to germinate regardless of whether you understand the process, your assumption will take approximately 72 hours to begin its manifestation regardless of your conscious beliefs about timing. Think about this. Every major change in your life was preceded by a change in your consciousness approximately 72 hours before its physical manifestation. You may not have been aware of it, but this law was operating nonetheless. This law operates in conscious with absolute precision, transforming your entire world through a specific sequence that unfolds over these 72 hours. Let me break down for you exactly what happens during this crucial period of transformation. In the first 24 hours, something profound begins to occur in your consciousness. The moment you truly accept your desire as an accomplished fact, your entire inner world begins to reorganize itself around this new assumption. Old patterns of thought begin to dissolve, and a new pattern starts to form. Many of you have experienced fleeting moments of acceptance, only to fall back into doubt and disbelief. But I tell you this, if you can maintain your new assumption for just 72 hours, holding it as true regardless of external evidence, you will set in motion forces that manage to manifest in its manifestation. Consider this: when a woman conceives, she doesn't immediately see external evidence of her pregnancy, yet from the very first moment of conception, forces are at work within her body, preparing for the manifestation of new life. The same is true of your consciousness during these first 24 hours. During the second 24-hour period, something even more remarkable occurs. Your new assumption begins to affect your subjective world, your thoughts, your feelings, your natural reactions to events. You begin to think from your desire fulfilled rather than of it. Let me tell you something crucial about this second day. This is often when doubt tries to creep in. The external world may still show no evidence of change, and your rational mind may try to convince you that nothing is happening, but beneath the surface, massive reorganization is taking place. Here's a profound truth about the second day. It's the period of death to the old man. Just as Christ spent the second day in the tomb, this is when your old patterns of thought and belief must die to make way for the new. This can feel uncomfortable, even disconcerting, but it's absolutely necessary. Think about this. Every transformation in nature goes through a period where the old form must die before the new can emerge. The caterpillar must cease to be a caterpillar before it can become a butterfly. The same principle applies to your consciousness during these crucial 72 hours. The very discomfort you might feel during this period is evidence that transformation is occurring. Your old patterns of thought and belief are dissolving, making way for your new assumption to take root and grow. The final 24 hours of this 72-hour period are perhaps the most crucial, for this is when the complete transformation of consciousness occurs. This is the period of resurrection when your new assumption becomes so natural that you can no longer remember how it felt to be in your former state. Let me share with you exactly what happens during these final 24 hours. Your new assumption, which has been gestating in the depths of your consciousness, begins to rise to the surface. It no longer feels like something you're trying to believe, it simply feels like what is. Many of you might experience what seems like a moment of crisis during this final period. But I tell you this, what appears to be a crisis is often the breaking point where the old must give way to the new. It's the darkness before the dawn, the final resistance of the old man before the new man rises. Consider this, in Scripture, it was during the final hours in the tomb that the resurrection occurred, not gradually, not partially, but in one complete transformation. The same is true of your consciousness during these final 24 hours. The transformation, when it comes, is complete. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your experience of these 72 hours. You stop seeing them as a period of waiting and start recognizing them as a sacred time of transformation. Each hour becomes precious, each moment significant. Let me tell you something vital about these final hours. They often bring what appears to be a complete contradiction to your desire. This is what I call the moment of greatest appearance of failure. But remember, appearances are merely the shadow of past assumptions, not the reality of your present consciousness. Here's a profound truth about this final period. It's when your outer world begins to respond to your new inner conviction. Things begin to shift, often in ways you couldn't have consciously planned or anticipated. People begin to treat you differently. Circumstances begin to rearrange themselves. Hike about this, every great transformation in history appeared darkest just before its completion. The crucifixion preceded the resurrection. The darkest hour comes just before dawn. This principle is reflected in your own consciousness during these final hours. The very circumstances that seem to deny your assumption are often the ones being rearranged to accommodate its fulfillment. What appears to be resistance is actually reorganization. This reorganization of your outer world follows an immutable pattern, much like the transformation of your inner consciousness. Just as a seed must break through the soil that appears to resist it, your new assumption must break through the appearances of your current reality. Let me share with you what actually happens in your outer world during this period. People who seemed indifferent to you suddenly become helpful. Circumstances that appeared fixed begin to shift. Opportunities that weren't visible before suddenly present themselves. All of this occurs not by chance, by law. Many of you observe your outer world anxiously during these 72 hours, looking for signs of change. But I tell you this, the changes are occurring whether you can see them or not. Just as a plant grows beneath the soil before breaking through to the surface, your manifestation is taking form before becoming visible. Consider this: when you plant a seed, the soil must be disturbed. Old patterns must be broken up to make way for new growth. The same is true of your outer world during these 72 hours. What appears as disruption is actually the rearrangement necessary for your new assumption to manifest. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your response to external circumstances during this period. You stop being disturbed by appearances that seem to contradict your assumption. You recognize them as necessary adjustments in the grand pattern of manifestation. Let me tell you something crucial about this reorganization. It often occurs in ways that your conscious mind could never have planned. The wisdom of your subconscious mind, which is one with infinite intelligence, knows exactly how to bring about the conditions necessary for your assumption to materialize. Here's a profound truth about this outer reorganization. It follows the path of least resistance. While your conscious mind might implicate complicated scenarios requiring massive changes, your subconscious mind finds the simplest, most natural way to bring about your desire's fulfillment. Think about this. Every desire you hold contains within itself the seeds of its own fulfillment. When you plant that desire in consciousness through your assumption, it begins to attract and arrange everything necessary for its manifestation. This arrangement often occurs in ways that appear miraculous to the conscious mind. The very circumstances that seem to stand in the way of your desire often become the means of its fulfillment. This is the wisdom of the law operating through the perfect pattern of the 72-hour principle. This pattern unfolds in your experience with a precision that would astonish you if you could see it from a higher perspective. Every thought, every encounter, every seemingly random event during these 72 hours is part of an intricate dance orchestrated by your new assumption. Let me share with you what's actually occurring moment by moment during this period. Your consciousness, having accepted the new assumption, begins to attract corresponding experiences. People begin to treat you according to your new concept of self. Circumstances begin to mirror your inner conviction. This isn't coincidence, it's law. Many of you wonder why certain people suddenly change their behavior towards you, why new opportunities suddenly appear, why solutions to old problems suddenly become clear. But I tell you this, nothing is sudden about it. Each change is the result of your shifted consciousness working through the perfect pattern of these 72 hours. After this, when you drop a pebble into a pond, the ripples move outward in perfect circles affecting every part of the water's surface. Your assumption works in the same way during these 72 hours, sending ripples through the entire fabric of your reality, touching every aspect of your world. When you truly understand this principle, Something remarkable happens to your awareness during this period. You begin to recognize every event, every conversation, every seemingly random occurrence as part of the pattern of fathomment. Nothing is meaningless. Everything is significant. Let me tell you something vital about this unfolding pattern. It requires no effort on your part maintaining your assumption. You don't need to make things happen. You don't need to manipulate circumstances. The pattern unfolds by law, not by effort. Here's a profound truth about these 72 hours. They represent a complete cycle of transformation from death of the old to birth of the new. Just as the moon moves through its phases, just as the earth rotates through day and night, your consciousness moves through this perfect pattern of transformation. Think about this. Every great master who ever walked the earth taught the same truth in different words. 3 days in the tome, the third day resurrection, the threefold pattern of transformation. They were all pointing to this same law that operates in consciousness through the center cycle. The very experiences you encounter during this period, whether they appear positive or negative, are all part of the perfect pattern of fulfillment. Nothing is out of place. Nothing is accidental. To recognize and work with this pattern requires a complete reversal of your usual way of thinking. Instead of looking to external events for evidence, you must maintain an unshakable awareness of your assumptions, reality these 72 hours. Let me share with you exactly how to maintain this awareness as the pattern unfolds. When you wake each morning during this period, your first thought must be from the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. Before your feet touch the floor, before your mind engages with the day's activities, you must renew your awareness of already being who you desire to be. Many of you start your days by immediately checking external reality for signs of change. But I tell you this, the external will not show evidence until the full 72 hour cycle is complete. Your task during this time is to live from your new assumption regardless of appearances. Consider this: when an actor takes on a role, they must maintain that character's consciousness throughout the entire performance. They can't drop in and out of character and expect to give a convincing performance. The same is true of your new assumption during these 72 hours. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your daily experience. You stop living in anticipation of change and stop living from the consciousness of the change already accomplished. This is the secret of working with the pattern rather than against it. Let me tell you something crucial about maintaining this awareness. It's not about forcing yourself to believe something. It's about allowing yourself to feel the naturalness of your new state. The more natural it feels, the more powerfully the pattern works. Here's a profound truth about these 72 hours. Your every reaction, your every response, your every inner conversation must spring from your new assumption. This isn't about pretending or affirming. It's about actually occupying your desired state in consciousness. Think about this. Every time you react from your old state of consciousness, you interrupt the pattern. Every time you respond from your new assumption, you strengthen it. The pattern requires consistency in consciousness to work its perfect law. The very circumstances that tempt you to react from your old state are actually opportunities to strengthen your new assumption. Each challenge is a chance to prove the reality of your inner transformation. These challenging moments during the 72 hours are not obstacles to your manifestation. They are vital parts of the pattern itself. They are opportunities to prove the reality of your new state in consciousness. Let me share with you exactly what to do when these moments arise. When circumstances seem to contradict your assumption, when people act contrary to your desired experience, when everything appears to be moving in the opposite direction. These are the moments when your new consciousness must be maintained with even greater conviction. Many of you interpret challenging circumstances as evidence that your assumption isn't working. But I tell you this, these very circumstances are part of the bridge of incidents, necessary events that must occur to bring about the fulfillment of your desire. They are not obstacles, but stepping stones. Consider this. When you're driving at night, the headlights illuminate only a small portion of the road ahead, yet you trust that as you continue moving forward, more of the path will be revealed. The same trust is required during these 72 hours. You don't need to see the entire path. You need only maintain your assumption. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your response to challenging circumstances. Instead of being discouraged by apparent contradictions, you begin to welcome them as confirmation that the old patterns are dissolving to make way for the new. Let me tell you something vital about these challenging moments. They often intensify just before the manifestation of your desire. This intensification is not a sign of failure, but a sign that the old patterns are making their final stand before dissolving completely. Here's a profound truth about handling these moments. Your only task is to remain faithful to your assumption. You don't need to fight circumstances, argue with appearances, or try to force changes. Your task is simply to maintain your consciousness of the wish fulfilled. Think about this. Every great manifestation in history was preceded by a period of apparent contradiction. The darkest hour comes just before dawn. The seed must completely break down before the new plant can emerge. These are not merely poetic metaphors. They are descriptions of the law in operation. The very circumstances that seem most opposed to your desire are often being rearranged to bring about its fulfillment. What appears as resistance is actually reorganization. This process of reorganization during the 72 hours follows a precise pattern that, understood, will transform your entire approach to manifestation. What appears as chaos in your outer world is actually perfect order taking shape according to your new assumption. Let me share with you what's actually happening during this reorganization. Your entire world, every person, every circumstance, every condition must adjust itself to match your new assumption. This adjustment often appears as disruption before the new pattern emerges. Many of you become discouraged when your world appears to be falling apart during these 72 hours. But I tell you this, what appears to be falling apart is actually falling into place. The old patterns must dissolve before the new patterns can emerge, just as old structures must be demolished before new ones can be built. Consider this when you rearrange furniture in a room. There's always a moment when everything appears to be in chaos. The room looks worse before it looks better. The same principle applies to the reorganization of your world during these 72 hours. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your perception of change. You stop resisting the apparent chaos and start recognizing it as a necessary part of the reorganization. You understand that disorder is often the prelude to a new and higher order. Let me tell you something crucial about this reorganization. It affects not only your external circumstances, but also your inner world. Old thought patterns dissolve, old emotional responses fade away, old habits naturally fall aside as your new assumption takes root. Here's a profound truth about this process. It works with mathematical precision. Just as water must reach 212 degrees Fahrenheit to boil, just as a seed must remain in darkness before it sprouts, your consciousness must maintain your assumption for approximately 72 hours for complete reorganization to occur. Think about this. Every major shift in your life followed the same pattern. Whether you were conscious of it or not, a change in consciousness always preceded a change in circumstance by approximately 72 hours. This is not coincidence. It is law. The very disruption you experience during this period is evidence that the law is working. Your world is reorganizing itself to match your new assumption with perfect precision. This precision of the law operating through the 72-hour principle is as exact as any law in physics or mathematics. It operates with the same certainty that brings dawn after night, spring after winter, harvest after planting. Let me share with you exactly how this precision manifests in your experience. During these 72 hours, everything, every word you speak, every action you take is either aligned with your new assumption or contradicts it. There is no neutral ground. The law registers everything with perfect precision. Many of you wonder why some manifestations seem to come easily while others appear to resist your efforts. But I tell you this, the law is never working more or less effectively. The only variable is your consciousness, your ability to maintain your assumption consistently throughout the 72-hour period. Consider this. When you drop an object, gravity doesn't sometimes work and sometimes fail. It operates with perfect precision every time. The same is true of this law of consciousness. Your assumption, held steadily for 72 hours, must manifest with the same certainty that a released object must fall. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your approach to manifestation. You stop hoping and start knowing. You stop pleading and start accepting. You stop wondering if it will work and start living from the certainty that it must work. Let me tell you something vital about this precision. It operates independently of your past experiences, your current circumstances, or others' opinions. The law responds only to your consciousness, your assumption maintained over these 72 hours. Here's a profound truth about this precise operation of law. It works the same way for everyone, every time. Just as mathematics doesn't play favorites, just as gravity doesn't discriminate, this law operates with perfect precision for anyone who applies it correctly. Think about this. Every successful manifestation you've ever experienced, whether consciously or unconsciously, followed this precise pattern. The law didn't bend or make exceptions. It's simply outpictured with mathematical precision whatever you assume to be true. The very precision that seems to work against you when you doubt is the same precision that works for you when you maintain your assumption. The law is always working with perfect accuracy. Working with this precision requires a complete understanding of how consciousness operates during these 72 hours. Your every thought, your every inner conversation, your every feeling must align with your assumption with the same precision that a mathematician applies to equations. Let me share with you exactly how to maintain this precise alignment. When you wake in the morning, your first thought must be from your new state. When you go about your day, your inner conversations must reflect your assumption. When you fall asleep at night, you must sleep as though your desire is already fulfilled. Many of you approach manifestation with a mixture of old and new states, shifting between doubt and belief, between old patterns and new assumptions. But I tell you this, the law requires precision. You cannot serve two masters. You must choose your assumption and maintain it with unwavering fidelity. Consider this when a watchmaker assembles a timepiece. Every gear, every spring, every component must be precisely aligned. A single misaligned piece affects the entire mechanism. The same is true of your consciousness during these 72 hours. Every aspect must be in perfect alignment. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your mental discipline. You become acutely aware of your thoughts, your inner conversations, your reactions. You recognize that each mental movement either supports or undermines your assumption. Let me tell you something crucial about this precision. It extends to your emotional state as well. You must feel with the same precision that you think. The feeling of your wish fulfilled must be so precise that it becomes your dominant emotional state. Here's a profound truth about working with this precision. It requires constant vigilance during these 72 hours. You cannot afford mental laziness or emotional indulgence in the old state. Every moment must be lived from your new assumption with mathematical precision. Think about this. Just as a scientist in a laboratory must maintain precise conditions for an experiment to succeed, you must maintain precise conditions in consciousness for your assumption to manifest. There can be no contamination from doubts, no dilution with fears. The very precision that makes this law seem demanding is what makes it infallible. When you maintain your assumption with mathematical accuracy, the law must respond with equal precision. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me.